by using Balto and having that on their screen, it speeds up the process of being able to get them to the phone calls and generating revenue and generating bonuses for themselves.
Don, great seeing you.
Yeah, thanks. You too, Mark.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me here. I know a lot of folks are certainly familiar with Renewal by Anderson. If anyone has ever been to a mall in the last 20 years, I'm sure you've seen, one of the booths there. Could you talk a little bit about what Renewal by Anderson does and, a little bit about how your business functions? You guys have an interesting setup in how you've kind of taken a really strong regional approach to your business. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, certainly. So, yeah, obviously, Renewal by Anderson is a name that a lot of folks have heard. It is a division of the Anderson Window Company, and the Anderson Window Company has been around for, well, getting close to 130 years now, 125 plus. And Renewal by Anderson was started just over 26 years ago as sort of the separate division of the Anderson Company that was meant to provide a specific solution to those folks who have an existing home, have existing windows, and are in need of replacement. So the Anderson window itself and the Anderson parent company is now just a little bit more tilted towards new construction, and the Renewal by Anderson side of it is tilted a little bit more towards a replacement option for both windows and patio doors, entry doors, and sliding glass doors on the patio.
When somebody is making a purchase of windows or doors, it's a big ticket item, and I imagine that they have a certain experience in mind that they expect from Renewal by Anderson. So I'm curious, when your customers reach out to you and you connect with them for the first time, what sort of experience do you think they expect from you?
Well, I would tell you that very specifically, one of the things we talk about a lot within our organization is about attempting to deliver what we refer to as a world-class homeowner experience. And it's one of the things we talk about within my inside sales center a lot is you don't put yourself in a position where you're acting as just a order taker. We really want to make sure that we take into account that homeowner needs and deserves to be given that world-class homeowner experience, and that should start with us. And if we've done a good job and answered all of their questions and used the fact that we should be considering ourselves the expert on that phone call, so therefore we should be asking the right questions and getting all the right information from them that maybe they don't know is important to give to us, so that we can tailor that experience to really meet their needs. Because the better information that we get on the front, first of all, if it would happen to be something like maybe just a storm door or something that we don't do, we should uncover that on the front end. And if we schedule an appointment without realizing it's for work we don't do, then in the end, we're wasting the customer's time and giving them a bad experience. So we want to do everything we can on the front end to uncover what the need is and tailor the experience to that need, and that it be a need that we can provide a solution for. Renewal by Anderson, being the seller, the manufacturer, and providing the service on the back, the installer, and then providing the service on the back end, we know that we can provide the full experience and cover that customer, hold their hand through the whole process, ensure they get the best of everything that they're looking for.
I love how much attention I just heard you guys pay to every step of that customer process. What you guys do on the first touch isn't just, order taking, isn't just administrative, like I'll pull up the calendar and schedule and get a rep out to you. When you brought on Balto, what were some of those points that you were trying to address or solve, or some of the problems you were looking to address?
Well, I think for us, it was really important to try to get a better understanding of what exactly everyone was doing on each and every phone call. We've had other quality assurance processes, but none of them seemed effective to me. So first and foremost, we didn't want to tie anyone's hands and limit what it is that they can and can't say on the phone. My management style is not to be quote unquote extremely scripted, where you have to read it, the whole script exactly a certain way. So we wanted to provide them some flexibility, which through your product we've been able to do. That's been one of the best things that we've been able to do, is that by being able to decide which parts of the playbook need to be locked so they cannot change it, because there are certain things that we just have to say. We have to let the customer know that we're recording all of our calls. We have to let them know about a privacy policy, those types of things. Those areas need to be locked and it needs to be scripted. But the other parts of the script, I'm a firm believer, and it's not, it's something that can't be scripted. You can't say my words. You need to be able to put things in your words. Your product has allowed us to be able to do that by unlocking those parts of the playbook, or script as other people would refer to it, and let them put it in their own words. But by also doing that, we have access to look at and quote unquote approve what everybody's saying. So that way we know what they're saying, because now through your product we can go back and look at their script usage, their adherence to the playbook, and see what they're using and what they're not. Without that tool, it might be the wild west out there. Everybody's saying their own script, and in the end, we don't, unless you're listening to every call, you don't know what they're saying from one call to the next. You don't know if they're actually sticking to their script that they wrote and told you this is what they were going to say. There's no way to prove it unless you literally can listen to every call. The other part of, I would say, that was a problem that we wanted to attack, that Balto's provided a great solution for, is to speed up the onboarding process. It's so much easier to show them what we want them to do through the playbook in Balto than it is to just hand out training materials and ask them to memorize a script and then be able to repeat it. By using Balto and having that on their screen, memorization becomes less and less important every day. It's there. It speeds up the process of being able to get them to the phone calls and generating revenue and generating bonuses for themselves.
I love that. Let's maybe break down both of those two value propositions for a minute. First one I heard is basically making sure, first of all, letting people put in their own words how they want to communicate with customers. And then the second thing I heard was, the ability to help people onboard faster. Could you talk about both of those, maybe one by one, of why is each of them important? Why is giving folks the ability to do it in their own words important? And what does onboarding mean to you guys?
The first part, again, going back to, I guess, sort of my philosophies on how to run an effective inside sales center, because I believe it's not so much what you say as how you say it. It becomes extremely important to me that you're able to use your words, use your style, because in the end, I'm never going to be very effective properly emphasizing the right words, showing the right level of confidence, showing the right level of enthusiasm, so on and so forth, if I'm constantly using somebody else's words, because then I really do have to focus on what it is that I'm saying. If I'm stuck to a script that is not my words, I really have to think about what that script is as I'm saying it. So there's no chance to show personality. There's no chance to really engage in good building good rapport with the customer, because I'm way too focused on making sure I say the script right, and what are the consequences if I don't. If I'm able to put it in my words and feel comfortable, then I can concentrate on the conversation and getting that back and forth going, uncovering what the need is, uncovering more and more information, because I'm comfortable, because I know I'm just having a conversation. It's in my words and I can feel comfortable doing that. So I think that's where that becomes really important, because that's where the experience on the phone really comes from, is the ability to just have a conversation and be yourself. In regards to onboarding, again, I think it becomes very important to us, because of course, everybody's training process is different. Some it might be a couple of days, some it might be a couple of weeks, some it might be a month. Whatever it is can be cut down by using your product, because of the fact that, again, I don't have to deal with memorizing. I can get them familiar with what is in the playbook, what is in the script, and I can allow them to move to the phone calls quicker, because of the fact that they don't have to have it memorized. It's there and available on their screen. They can see it. Because they can see on there, as the words that you say change colors and show that it's green, you've hit that. So as you're new and you're a little bit less confident and comfortable as the conversation maybe goes off in different tangents or directions at different times. It's going to provide a new person a lot easier ability to get back to the script, get back to the point where they left off because they can see it right on their screen. The ability to shorten that onboarding process dramatically, and of course, for everybody, what that means is money. I mean, in the end, you of course need to invest in your new hires. You need to invest in them becoming being trained and becoming a great employee. But if you can cut that down even one day for every training class that you run, depending on how many people you've got in there, obviously the cost associated with that becomes astronomical over a year, let alone the potential revenue that you gain back against that, not having that cost after a year of having everybody cut their training down from, you know, from 5 days to 4 days or whatever it may be. You're going to minimize cost and recoup revenue back every time. So for me, anything I can do to shorten the onboarding process without limiting the experience that they have and their ability to be ready to make those phone calls without, you know, you're just not just throwing them to the wolves. They're prepared. You can just prepare them quicker because by using your product.
It makes so much sense. And what's so cool, Don, is I just heard you kind of draw a direct line between, onboarding agents well to them having to exert less cognitive energy trying to memorize things and trying to recall what they previously memorized, or even trying to talk in a style that's not really who they are.
There's an ancillary benefit that comes from the playbook and the scripting too. In the end, as we provide our agents the autonomy and the ability to put things in their own words, what ends up happening is a great training session that helps them understand
Yeah.
what a good script is. So they realize, hey, we put it in this way for this reason. Now I don't expect you to use my words, but as you're putting your own spin to this, let's talk about how you're doing it. This may not really work the way you think it's going to. So they've been allowed to be put in their own words, but they now buy into the process, understanding why the process is the way that it is.
I'm so glad you said that, because that's one of the best practices that we've really worked on having our customers adopt. And that is that when we first released the ability for agents to be able to put things in their own language, and then the ability for their management team to moderate and say, no, sorry, that's we don't do it that way. We noticed a lot of customers would start by just like delete, and it reverts, and the agent goes, wait, what the heck happened? I thought I just put that in and now it's gone. And
Yeah.
what we realized is we needed to teach our customers, when you see the agent kind of make a change and you don't think it's a good change, that's a training moment. That's a coaching moment. That's a chance for you to say, here's like how you should be thinking of it. Great try, great attempt, good creativity. What if you tried a little bit this way? And I love that I heard that sounds like it's a pretty regular part of your guys' process and how you're managing Balto.
Yeah, very much so. Definitely, we want the agents to, like you said, to make that attempt, but we want to also make sure that they understand that there's within the management team there are many years of experience of understanding and learning of why we do things certain ways, and so we want them to be able to have as much freedom as they can within making sure that they understand that there's certain things that work and certain things that don't work. And in our world, if we're talking about Windows, it just doesn't benefit you to have the word Windows in everything that you say. So you kind of have to learn to be creative and understand how to get your points across using different concepts, different ideas, different words to get across the same point.
It's a great balance of how do you make sure you get your institutional knowledge out there to the front line, where the stuff that you guys have learned, over decades doesn't get put on the shelf, and something that one trainer taught everyone once and now everyone's forgotten. So you guys both are making sure your institutional knowledge is out there in front of agents, but also putting the balance in place where you respect their ability to continue to push the boundaries and continue to think about how they like to do things and personalize it.
Yep, completely agree. Definitely a part of what we're doing.
In terms of metrics, Don, what have you seen Balto be able to do it from a metrics perspective?
One of the biggest things that we measure, that we're looking at every day is out of the amount of opportunities that we have presented to us, the amount of folks that show interest in our company, how many of those turn into an appointment? We would look at that as what we would refer to as a set rate. If I've got 100 new people to call, how many leads do we have where one of our sales reps ends up in their house trying to set an appointment? So that's the biggest thing that we measure across all of the different sources. And obviously, all of the different sources of advertising that we do are expected to have different rates of success. But really across the board in all of those, in virtually all of those different marketing sources, the set rates that we're looking for, the company standard, and how we're measuring ourselves against our previous successes, pretty much across the board, we're better this year than we were last year. We have been able to, not only all of those things that we mentioned in the what some of our goals were, but just even our what we call a coach, a frontline supervisor, their ability to utilize the tool to find coaching opportunities and therefore improve the skill set and the results of the agents has led us to just simply be better in the main thing that we focus on, our set rate.
What are the supervisors doing in Balto? Like, what kind of different capabilities they're interacting with? What kind of workflow are they using? How are they using Balto to coach and help their agents?
First of all, the alerts is a great option. In the end, if we're having a specific issue with one of the metrics that have to do with our appointments or one specific area of the playbook, then by using the alerts and getting a real-time alert when we hear a phrase that we know is leading to a problem, or of course it could be on the opposite. Maybe there's a phrase or a concept that we're trying to reinforce that we know is really working, but by using the real-time alerts and getting an alert that, hey, Johnny is on a call and Johnny just used this phrase, whether it be the positive or the negative that we're trying to pay attention to, they're able then to get that alert and go right into the either listening to the call or looking at the transcription of that call and literally be real-time coaching. That's one of the other things that really led us to Balto is, especially we had live people listening to calls and scoring them after the call was over. Well, after the call is over, that's great. You can still coach, but through a live alert, you literally can have an impact on that call. If you're getting an alert on something that you don't want to happen on a call, you have the ability to interact with that agent right then and there while they're on the call and potentially save a lost opportunity by using those live alerts. Once we were exposed to it, that most of my coaches really enjoy is Balto GPT. Basically, be the AI tool to be going in and just simply looking for certain types of calls, certain calls by a certain agent that they're looking to coach on. Something that we believe is going to affect a metric that we're looking for. Those types of things. We can focus on that right then and there.
That's awesome. It's been really exciting and honestly a little bit surprising to hear how good of reception Balto GPT has gotten. And exciting obviously because it's an LLM, it's a large language model, and you're able to ask questions over all your call recordings and say, when people were asking about a new door, what were the top 5 styles that they mentioned? Or, when they asked about colors, what colors were the most popular? Like, those are the sort of things you can just type it into Balto GPT and it asks all those questions. The reason that I'm surprised that it's been as well received as it has is because it's a brand new way of trying to interact with technology. Like, there's not other technologies we're used to where you can type in questions over big data sets and it says, I looked through all your data and popped you back an answer. Could you talk a little bit about like maybe what the adoption looked like there? Was it hard getting people used to it, or Was it just is asking questions over a data set just like the intuitive way people think? Like, how did you end up getting that ingrained into what your supervisors and coaches were doing?
I think it probably worked exactly like most everything. It works when you have a group of people. The way it worked for us is five, I have five coaches and an assistant manager. It was presented to us through, Matt showed it to us, Matt Vance on one of our calls, and everybody kind of thought it was neat. But then the question is, who actually does something with it? And I have a coach named Matt Weber, and Matt jumped in and used it and had a lot of success with it. Reported it back to the other coaches, and it just kind of went one by one by one. So it was really just a situation of one person taking that step and sharing their success, and everybody else saying, "Oh wow, yeah."
I think people are afraid of, you go to an interface you haven't seen before. And I think sometimes people just freeze up and they say, what do I do here? And they go, well, it's easier if I just don't think about it. But there's also those sort of people like, both the Mats that you mentioned that see, new space as opportunity, as greenfield. And
Yep.
it's really cool how a technology can propagate through a company, almost in this like viral sort of way, when you have someone who is able to go in, dig in, and get some cool successes from it.
No, completely. I mean, in the end, that's being transparent. That's been one of the challenges of getting everything out of Balto that it offers to us, because you've got a bunch of folks that are used to doing things a certain way, and when you see the demo, when you first get involved with it, start learning it, you see all of the advantages and all the capabilities, but taking that step and actually putting it to work is not necessarily as easy as we'd all like to think it would be. And so part of it is just breaking old habits. Part of it is making new and better habits. It's almost impossible to be using every tool that it provides you, but you at least got to find those that do fit into your way of doing things, and then slowly but surely try to expand yourself into some of the other things that you haven't tried yet. But you got to start somewhere and put it to use, and then go from there.
If you think about Microsoft Office, or you go into, Microsoft Word, and you click, all the different tabs. No one has ever clicked every button in every tab in Microsoft Office. No one has ever done that. You kind of find the different, tabs and things that you find useful, and then you kind of develop your own flows around them. So it's not like you need to, use every single feature and every single capability. In fact, if you did, that probably meant the software is too narrow and isn't providing a big enough menu of options for, a wide enough customer base.
Completely agree. And that's, with the example of the Balto GPT and just the whole concept, that's exactly what we've encouraged, is to try to find each person sort of find their own niche and do whatever we can to nurture that. Not everybody has the same niche. And then once you find yours, then share it with everybody. Because if I've got five coaches and I can find five different niches, then great. Because now I can ultimately teach all five of those to all five different coaches, and they all have five tools instead of one. But if everybody goes to the same one, you may never get to five. So we really tried to nurture that and get folks to find their own way, and hopefully find a different way than the rest of their peers, so that they can then master it and share it back with their peers.
So, Don, one more question for you. What would you say is different or special about partnering with Balto?
Well, go back and use the example you just gave. It's not Microsoft. I'm sure someday you might hope it is, but for right now, it's nowhere near Microsoft. So the personal relationships and attention that I've had are just invaluable. I mean, we've had a good working relationship with Matt from day one, being my customer service, or I don't know exactly what title you use, but being my right hand person. We meet with Matt every few weeks and keep in touch and talk about where we're going. And he works closely with all of my coaches. From a technology standpoint, when we first came up, and I knew that anything that I needed, Cassidy was available to me, and was going to be right there if I needed anything. I've been lucky enough now to have a few different conversations with you. I mean, I doubt there's too many Microsoft clients that have are able to reach to the top of the chain and talk to the CEO at Microsoft. So that's one of the best things for us is just the personal attention that we've been able to get from everybody on your staff.
Don, one of the big takeaways I have from today is you guys have done a really great job of both working with Balto in this like state of fluidity where you're constantly iterating, you're constantly making changes and improvements and learning and experimenting, trying new things. But you also wrap these things around a process. You have a process for taking changes that your reps make that maybe isn't quite the right way you want to represent the business and turn that into training. You have a process for checking your data on dynamic prompts, seeing how they're performing, and figuring out whether to soup them up or tone them back. You have a process for meeting with Matt Vance, your customer success manager, and saying what's the next thing we should be looking at? How do we make sure that we're continuing to make more use of the technology? It's really cool how you guys have gotten the state of fluidity, but you also wrap it in process. So it's not just like you going crazy and trying a million different things. It's very diligent. It's very thoughtful. And I think that's a really great approach for anybody, trying to put new technology into their business.